And in August 2021. As the country responded to the pandemic, the Department of Defense ordered all service members to get vaccinated against COVID-19.
To date, we've administered over 3.3 million doses to eligible DoD personnel, with 58% of our active duty service members having had at least one dose.
The vaccine was said to be fully approved by the FDA, or so it appeared. Sam Shumate, a recently retired chief warrant officer with over 20 years in the U.S. Army, alongside other courageous whistleblowers, would not stand silent.
For the last 4 years, I've been working along with some other folks to push back against a lot of unlawful activity that took place.
My name is Lieutenant Colonel Teresa Long. I am an aerospace and occupational medicine physician in the United States Army. I hold a master's in public health. I'm responsible for overseeing anywhere between 3,600 and 4,000 service members on our post.
These whistleblowers exposed the truth. Service members, coerced into taking vaccines falsely labeled as FDA approved, were subjected to medical products that violated the law.
The person who pushed the vaccine onto the Department of Defense was Terry Adams, acting Under Secretary of Defense for Defense Health Agency, and she was the one who pushed out the memo that stated that the EUA and the FDA versions of Pfizer's vaccine could be and will be used interchangeably.
She had absolutely no legal basis to make such a statement.
There are a ton of statutes that were violated here, but ultimately, U.S. Code 1107 Alpha governs the administration of any kind of experimental drug on Department of Defense personnel.
What's an example of leveraging policy to promote vaccine take rates?
Sure.
As said in the memo.
Sure. Our commanders have wide authority to use personnel policies.
One case I know of was a service member who was stationed in Korea, and his mom was dying of cancer, and he was about to get on a plane and come home to visit his mom. And they stopped him at the airport and they said, "You can't get on that plane unless you get vaccinated." He said no. And they went to him week after week. "Hey, how's mom doing? You want to ever see mom again? You got to get vaccinated." They didn't let him go home until after his mom died.
They have control over leave, so they can give liberal leave, for example, to those who get vaccinated.
The president is the only person who could have mandated this legally. He would have had to have done so under some sort of national security purview. So it specifically states that national security has to have been compromised to a point where not taking the vaccine is more of a threat than whatever the national security issue is. So a lot of people interpret that as some sort of war or contingency or whatever. But that was never done. The president never waived a service member's informed consent. The Secretary of Defense pushed through a memo that stated the vaccine could only be administered under mandate if it was FDA approved.
These were not harmless mistakes, not bureaucratic oversights. This was a deliberate violation of U.S. law.
On August 23rd, 2021, Pfizer's Comirnaty was licensed. It was given its BLA licensing. The people that were ordering Comirnaty after it appeared on the scene, after May 21st of 2021, the first proponent to do this was the Coast Guard. They were the first ones to identify this batch, lot number 1331, that was coming out of what they claimed was Fort Detrick. Okay, so we had some people run this down, and Chad Coppin, Lieutenant 03 type in the Coast Guard, was one of the individuals. He was the individual who ran this information down. What he found out after contacting Pfizer themselves and telling them the batch number, he has it on audio, we have evidence of this, is they stated that was actually produced in France.
Thank you for calling Pfizer.
Yeah, hi. I had a question about a lot number of a product that my medical staff had provided for me, and I was trying to figure out the manufacturing location and dates for it.
What's that lot number?
The lot number is FW1331.
I think I found it. It's manufactured in France.
Just France?
Just France.
Is there any way to track any shipping or locations it came through?
No, sir.
The issue is you cannot just make this drug anywhere you want. It has to be approved and made in BLA authorized facilities.
That's a felony. That's fraud.
So this is an article from the Washington Times. It says, Team Biden must pay for using military as lab rats for COVID-19 shots.
Service members should never be experimented on. I think a lot of people have to understand clinical research trials are extremely expensive for a pharmaceutical company. You're looking at hundreds of millions, sometimes billions of dollars to do the clinical research to get a drug to market. So imagine how alluring it is to use service members where you have a single electronic medical record system. You're not paying for their labs, you're not paying for their imaging, and you're not paying for any disability that occurs in the course of a clinical research trial. I finally went into the Defense Medical Epidemiology database, and I found just catastrophic data. I ran ICD codes for hyperthyroidism, thyroid cancer, all of those skyrocketing.
We have substantial data showing that we saw, for example, miscarriages increased by 300% over the 5-year average, almost 300% increase in cancer over the 5-year average. Neurological issues, which would affect our pilots, over 1,000% increase. 1,000.
10 times. That's 10 times the rate, and obviously that
83,000 per year. 82,000 per year to 863,000 in 1 year. Our soldiers are being experimented on, injured, and sometimes possibly killed.
I handed that information over to Colonel Pete Chambers, Major Sam Sigaloff, and Lieutenant Mark Bayshaw, and presented that data to Senator Johnson.
Our government officials talked about them not being particularly honest, not being particularly transparent. We invited them all here. Representatives from the heads of the CDC, Secretary of Defense Austin, Secretary of Labor Walsh, Secretary of Transportation Buttigieg, FDA Acting Commissioner Woodcock, HHS Secretary Becerra, NIAID Director Fauci, NIH Director Collins, together with the CEOs of Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, Pfizer, and BioNTech. None of them showed up.
In the course of the last 2 years, I have seen more pathology than I have in my entire medical career. It has been a whole litany of things, tons of cardiac issues, myocarditis, pericarditis, arrhythmias, AFib. We have about 5 cases of AFib in the brigade.
The COVID-19 vaccine that came out with mRNA has, I think, unleashed a storm of new types of autoimmunity in that the specific types of proteins that we're going to see people will have cross-reactive antibodies to. That means that they have autoimmunity from the vaccine, include a heart protein called titin. You need titin to function properly as a heart cell, right? And if you end up with an autoimmune attack against the heart muscle, you're going to get an infusion of immune cells. You're going to get it, they're going to invade your heart tissue, you're going to get inflammation, you're going to end up with myocarditis.
And what is shocking is not only the litany of medical problems, but the fact that these are people that are selected from the general population in the United States, not only to come into the military, but then they pass the most stringent criteria. These are people that are very well vetted from a health standpoint by the time they get to us. And then we're seeing these kind of problems, and we're seeing things like AFib where they have no risk factors, and this isn't the demographic. This vaccine mandate was more detrimental to medical readiness than the 20-year war in Iraq and Afghanistan. I don't know which did more damage, the infection or the immunization, the disease or the cure.
America doesn't know what the Department of Defense is doing to its sons and daughters actively in real time. You think about sending your son and daughter off to fight a war. They're not going off to fight a war, they're going off to be injected with a drug so that somebody's stock portfolio can go up and make a lot of money off of them. That's crazy to me. So you gotta ask yourself all those questions. Who is benefiting off the welfare of my son or daughter when they go to serve their country? It's not the country.
This is the CDC telling me there's 8,853 adverse event reports on service members. And look at, from February to May, 34,512.
24-year-old Army National Guard specialist, Carolina Stanczyk. She says, like many in the military, she was urged by superiors to take the COVID vaccine. So she did, not unusual. She immediately suffered severe adverse reactions, 3 heart attacks thereafter, and a stroke, okay? Young, strong, fit for duty. The Defense Department refused to cover her medical expenses. According to a new report, the Department of Defense now acknowledges that Carolina's debilitating heart condition, called POTS, may have been caused by the COVID vaccine, and that her developing the heart condition was considered, or is now considered, a line of duty injury.
She takes 27 pills every day after suffering her first heart attack while on active duty.
Did you have heart issues before you joined the military?
Not a single heart issue. I could run 10 miles at a time to play basketball, and now I have trouble just standing up.
What's to blame?
I mean, the only thing that would have changed was the COVID vaccine, and that's when everything flipped upside down for me.
Government records obtained by our investigative team confirm Stanczyk has a serious heart condition, and her case may open the door to service members who believe they were harmed by the Defense Department's COVID vaccine mandate.
According to this Army memo, your debilitating heart condition can be caused by either COVID-19 infection or the COVID-19 vaccine. Have you ever tested positive for COVID-19?
I don't have a single positive test for COVID-19.
So is this Army memo an acknowledgement that your heart condition is the result of the COVID vaccine?
It 100% is an acknowledgement that it was a result of the vaccine.